All right, so let's start the meeting off with just a couple fun things. For anybody who managed to come to Chris's party, we had a lot of these t-shirts that we passed out. Okay, these are super awesome, incredibly comfortable t-shirts. They're like the bougie, super soft polyester shirts that are crazy expensive. If you want a shirt and you live further away, do me a favor. Go into Facebook or email and tell me what size shirt you wear, and I need your address. Okay. So blast that to me, and we're going to send out some shirts. I think we've got probably 100, 150 left. What I would like to do, and I'd love like a show of hands or something, tell me if this is cool. I'd like to set up something where you guys can order shirts from us and we're selling them to you either at a loss or barely breaking even. But that way we can just ship you guys shirts whenever you want. I started, give me one second, Jim and Will. What I started to do earlier today, I started to create like an eBay link, like an eBay sale, where I was selling shirts for like $2, but you guys had to pay like $5 in shipping. But these shirts cost us like 15 bucks a piece. Okay. But you guys could literally go on eBay and buy shirts. And the cool thing about doing it that way is it actually makes it way more efficient, because I can go into my PayPal and click a button to print a label. The shipping is like half the price that it would be if I go to UPS store and ship you guys a shirt. That's what's going to get crazy expensive, is just shipping shirts for like a ton of money. So we're going to explore a way. It might be through eBay, it might be something else, but we're going to come up with a link where we can just, you guys can go on and click a button and buy a shirt for dirt cheap, and we'll just ship you guys shirts. Okay. Because I know I see them all over the place down here, but don't see them in other places as much. So that's coming. First of all. Second of all, we're doing something else cool. We're going to start a Google review contest. Okay. So we're going to give away 250 bucks a month. Okay. Now then, in order to win 250 bucks, all you got to do is request a Google review. Each time you request a Google review and you get a review, then you're going to be able to use this link. I'm putting it in chat right now, but it'll also pop up in 1% List Agents later. Okay. You use that link. It's to fill out a Google form, and you're going to give us your name, which office you're at, and you're going to put up a screenshot of the Google review. Okay. Now then, this link right here is what we suggest you use. You could send this through text. You can send it through email. If you guys want to be awesome and click on that right there, that's the 1% List Franchises Google business page. And we're trying to actually get an actual Google panel for that, for the corporate company. That's where, like, if somebody Googles us, we pop up like Microsoft does or something like that. But in order to do that, we have to be a lot more well-known, which means we need a lot more reviews. So get reviews for your home office, but also you're welcome to get a review for franchises. Anytime you get a review, you go to that top link right there, you submit a screenshot of the review you got, and you're going to be entered. You can be entered to win as many times as you want. And once a month, we're going to pick a random number, and somebody's going to get 250 bucks. Okay. If you guys get to the point where y'all are awesome and getting tons of reviews, then we'll escalate the money. Okay.
Let me jump in here and say that for each individual review, you will have to submit that form.
Yeah.
One form for each review. It's not going to be one form for multiple reviews, because then I can't itemize and see how many entries you have.
Right.
So for each individual review, you would need to complete that form one time.
Yep. But once you fill it out, we're gonna have like the first person to submit it every month is gonna be number one, and it's gonna go all the way to 200 or however many reviews we get, and then we're gonna pick a random number. And look, if you guys get awesome at getting reviews for your offices and for 1% List Franchises, I'll absolutely, pick 2 or 3 winners that month, or, we'll double the prize money or something. But getting Google reviews is vital for all of these offices, but also for us, but especially the offices. It is incredibly important. Okay. Like the amount of leads that will flow into the company that is shared with agents if you guys have 50, 60, 100 reviews at an office as opposed to 5 or 6 is dramatic. Okay, it is absolutely dramatic. So we appreciate you guys participating in that in any way you can. Any questions about the t-shirt situation or Google reviews? Once again, check chat and copy what I just put out with Google reviews. Yes, Stacia.
I just put it in chat. Can y'all prepare an email that we can send out to all the agents?
Yes, I am actually working on that now.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
if you want, I'll make a quick video if you want to, Stacia, and I'll put it out.
Yeah, but an email will at least
Yep.
provide the Google form link and stuff.
I will be sending out an email to all franchisees within an hour or so, which will have the link and the explanation that you can just blast to your individual agent.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All right, everybody good? Questions on shirts or Google reviews? Okay. All right, so let's talk about commission suits. What I'm about to say is going to be pretty alarming to those of you who have been paying attention, but let me say that it is, all of this stuff is very, very good news for us. Like it's very good for companies like ours. You guys are welcome to stop me at any time while we talk about these commission suits and ask questions, but I'd like to somewhat keep it straightforward to where all the information can get out. So if you need to stop me and ask questions, feel free to do so, but I'd rather not go in like a 20-minute conversation about that question, okay? So the first trial was called Sitzer-Burnett, and that was based out of Missouri. This was the Halloween verdict. This is the one that Remax and Anywhere, also known as Realogy, settled out of. This is the case that the National Association of Realtors, Berkshire Hathaway, and Keller Williams lost. The jury arrived at a verdict in 2.5 hours, and I can't stress that enough. And they returned the maximum possible penalty of $1.785 billion, which is automatically what's called trebled or tripled to $5.356 billion. And the reason is because it involves antitrust and collusion. Let me stress that there is no insurance against antitrust and collusion. So an insurance company is not going to be picking up the tab for this verdict. This trial was based on listing agents' fees. And effectively what happened is the original person, before it went class action, said they met with their listing agent. The listing agent told them commissions were not negotiable. The listing agent then required him to pay him, as well as a buyer's agent, a certain amount of money. And that agent stressed that it wasn't negotiable the whole time. And then the buyer's agent acted against his best interest. So basically it's like he went to court and had to pay for the other side's attorney. Okay, they won that case. Now then, I've heard a lot of people say, well, look, the problem is that agents just aren't explaining themselves well enough. Here's the thing. NAR, Keller Williams, and Berkshire Hathaway showed up with the most expensive lawyers that you can afford in this country. I mean, we're talking about $3,000 an hour attorneys. Trust me, they explained themselves. These people explain themselves for a living. But in 2.5 hours, the maximum possible verdict was laid down. Not to go off on too much of a side rant, but me and Kelly had a very similar experience to this person, which is what got us into real estate. And I hear a lot of real estate agents say, well, everybody knows commissions are negotiable. Well, yeah, we teach agents that commissions are negotiable. But then when agents join these big companies, the first thing that they're taught to do is not negotiate commissions. And for those of you who used to belong to one of those big companies, I guarantee you nowhere in your listing presentation was showing up and talking to somebody about how negotiable commissions are when you're going to a listing appointment. No one was doing that. Okay, that's the problem. So within hours of this verdict, pretty much a copycat case, the same people launched the exact same case in Missouri against about 12 other brokerages, including NAR again. Okay. The second trial that became very popular is I'm probably going to butcher this name. It's MOEHRL, the Moral trial, I guess, which is more so centered around buyer's agents fees. And the estimated damages are expected to reach 40 billion in this case. This case is in Illinois. Okay. And what this case is about is home prices being inflated because of a buyer's agent's fee and clear cooperation. Okay. This is why you can go on some websites like Redfin and they are disclosing what a buyer's agent is paid. Okay. Since these two cases, there have been at least 30 more cases that have been filed. Everywhere from, it seems like every day I get a new notification that a new case has been launched. One of them, the most recent one that I can remember was in Destin, where we have an office. Builders in Texas, where you have a lot of home builders that'll sell 400, 500 houses a year. They're now suing boutique brokerages and real estate teams. Okay, because I mean, imagine it, if you build and sell 400 houses a year and you've been paying an agent 3%, imagine you've been paying 10 grand times 400 houses, that's $4 million a year for the past 5-6 years that they can go back legally. That's $24 million. How many builders would that apply to in Texas and some of these other larger states? And it's going everywhere. Okay. If y'all can imagine something like the asbestos cases that you see, that's kind of where it's trending, where every law firm has a group that just does asbestos claims and stuff like that. That's kind of where this is going. Now then, I'm going to open the floor in just a second, but when it comes to shaping realtor opinion on this stuff, it's been interesting. I've talked to some agents that I think are very smart and that I like, but they say things like, I talked to one the other day and she's like, so what do you think about this commission lawsuit? And I was like, I think it's pretty crazy and amazing. What do you think? And she's like, I don't know. Would I listen to this real estate coach and they think it's funny? And I'm like, okay, like that's the extent of your opinion on this. This is going to change so many things, guys. It's no different than politics. Where you get your news will shape how you think. If you go to a real estate coach and say, what should I think about the commission suits? They'll tell you this. If you speak to an attorney, like next time you go to a closing, ask a legit attorney what they think about this. And they're going to tell you it's getting real. It's getting crazy. I don't think so, Karen. Karen asked an interesting question. She says, seems like a lot of other agencies are now going to follow suit, allowing their agents to lower their listing fee to who knows how low. I want them to all still charge 5 to 6%. I mean, that's one argument. But here's the thing. The question is can your average big box company make ends meet if their agents start doing what we do? And the answer is no, they can't. Like, there's a reason why Macy's hasn't just turned into Amazon, and it's because they can't afford it. They've got 1 million for like retail locations that they're paying the heating bill and the AC bill, and they're paying for all this shelving and everything else. There's a reason why they can't just be Amazon. We could not be going in any different directions. Like here locally, for example, Karen, the local Keller Williams, when we were launching our company and really expanding our company, the local Keller Williams spent like $500,000 renovating their office. Like we could not be going in any further different directions. We have seen a dramatic uptick in franchise interest since this happened, but I don't think any of these big box companies can simply pivot and do what we do in a matter of months. They're not balanced. They haven't balanced their books around that. You know, like they spend more money on coffee and donuts every month than some of our offices spend on keeping their doors open and all their expenses put together. So let's talk about what we're hearing. Like I've had some agents who say, oh, well, you know, I listen to this real estate coach and he says that they're just going to appeal, or she says that they're just going to appeal. So imagine, I'm gonna pick on Alex Bayham here. So let's say I won a court case against Alex Bayham for $500,000 and Alex Bayham has $500,000. Alex Bayham is not allowed to spend her last $500,000 trying to not pay me $500,000. Okay, Alex has to set aside that money in what's called a surety bond in order to file an appeal. If any of you guys want to take a second, like this is the first case, and this is just to impart the gravity of this. If anybody wants to Google the value of Keller Williams, which is one of the biggest brokerages in the country, probably the biggest, they're worth about $2 billion. Their exposure in the Missouri case is about 1.7. Okay, so we're not talking about $1 million properties in California and Denver and Florida. We're talking about Missouri. Keller Williams got hit for damn near the entire value of the company. It's insane. Okay, so no, they're not just going to appeal. NAR does not have the money to kind of go a little bit further down the rabbit hole. NAR does not have the money to cover the cost of the appeal. And there's already been people that have analyzed that and done basically a financial analysis of NAR. And they're like, look, NAR does not have the money to file an appeal. And so if you think about it, the purpose of NAR is to protect a lot of these brokerages from, I mean, they're a lobbying group is basically what they are, protecting realtors and protecting brokers from lawsuits. NAR is in a tough spot right now because NAR is going to be expected to cover these costs. And if they can't, then what's the purpose of belonging to NAR? If you're belonging to a lobbying group that cannot protect you and lobby on your behalf, then why do you belong to them? And so a lot of people are predicting that NAR is going to have to cover almost all of these costs, which they can't, in which case there's going to be an exodus from NAR. And we're already seeing that. If you Google brokerage leaves NAR, you'll see that it's routinely now, like Coldwell Banker left NAR in Washington. Like, it's starting to happen. And so it's like a death by 1,000 cuts for NAR because they're just slowly but surely losing all of their dues. It's a pretty big deal. Yes, Kim, the Department of Justice is now actively involved. I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to throw that in here. The Department of Justice had an agreement with NAR, but that got scrapped. And the Department of Justice is seeking to reopen their complaint against NAR, which is looking like it's going to happen. The Department of Justice is now working directly with the plaintiffs in some of these cases. And I'll get to that in just a second. Actually, what the heck, let's go into that now. The argument that's been made is that, you know, all the lawyers for these big companies got up and said, well, look, commissions are negotiable, commissions are negotiable. But the problem is that they're immediately training agents. And this has been demonstrated where they're training agents how to not negotiate commissions. And so you can tell agents that commissions are negotiable. But if you then tell agents to not negotiate their commissions and you're not telling the public that commissions are negotiable, then basically that's the problem. If you simply follow the money, you start realizing that the MLSs make money on a head count. So the more agents that there are, the more money the MLSs make. NAR makes money on a head count. So the more agents that there are, the more money that NAR makes. I just shared a screenshot from this morning. There's a guy that I've become a contact with Consumer Federation of America. It's basically a consumer advocacy group. And he dropped me an email this morning that says that, what was it? I shared it on social media, but I believe it was over half of all agents sold one or less houses last year. I mean, and the problem is that we're creating real estate agents faster than anybody could possibly believe. Yeah, nearly half of real estate agents sold no or one house in this past year. And so, you know, you can kind of follow the rabbit hole down and say, okay, well, NAR makes money off the head count. So more agents, more money. The MLSs are in the same situation. But if you have a ton of agents, well, now an agent needs to be able to survive by doing less deals, which means the fees have to remain high. That was the argument that was made, and it was made very successfully. I can't think of 8 people that would agree that grass is green. And in 2.5 hours, 8 people levied the maximum possible penalty. And that's when it went viral. It's popping up everywhere now. So I threw out a lot of information. Who has questions about anything that I just threw out? I mean, the floor is open. Imagine some of the questions are going to be, will this affect us and how this affects us? Okay, Karen, is RESPA currently working on financing buyer's commission so buyer has to pay for it? One of the things that's been interesting about this is the day after this Halloween verdict, Zillow's stock dropped 10%. Okay. And so if you think about that, if you kind of pull back and think about it, what you realize is that a lot of people are predicting that commissions on the buyer side could get compressed. Okay. And that's why Zillow stock started dropping, is because Zillow only makes money by selling buyer leads. That's really their cash cow. That's the only thing that they have. And so what happened, if you kind of read between the lines there, what happened was the stock market is basically saying, and everybody else is basically saying, listings just became way more valuable. Whoever has the listings is going to control everything. And I mean, how I would advise everyone to train their agents, and if you're an agent here listening, this is how you need to look at this. We're already having people saying, do I have to pay a buyer's agent anything? And the answer is no. You don't have to pay a buyer's agent anything. Okay. We recommend you consider doing this. And the reason is because this is the average that we see in your market. But the days of telling somebody you have to pay a buyer's agent, you can't do that anymore. So somebody could hire you, pay you 1%, and we're going to be putting out some documentation on this and some things very soon for how to handle this. But you can't simply go into somebody's house and say you're required to pay a buyer's agent, okay? Because you can get in some trouble. Okay, so I definitely would not do that. Most of our people are still offering a buyer's agent, you know, the average amount that we would see, but you know, we're not telling people anymore you're required to pay a buyer's agent this, because that's what got all these companies in trouble. For the people that are saying, and I'm going to shut up in 1 second, for the people that are saying that the appeal, nothing's going to change for years because of an appeal. First of all, they don't have the money to appeal. Second of all, if I was watching this come down and I'm an MLS, I'm not waiting 4 years for an appeal. I am changing my policies today. And that's what we're seeing here in Louisiana, is we saw NAR and some of the MLS boards start becoming more active, telling agents, hang on, back up. You got to start doing things differently. So floor is open. Who's got questions? What you got, Kim?
Well, that's what I was going to say. It was ironic. We get a bulletin every time we open up our MLS with announcements. And the one leading in on January 2nd was, you are no longer allowed to talk about the way businesses handle their business or the commissions or the fees. In any meeting, it will be shut down. And it was just ironic that they're not encouraging it. If it comes up, the way that I manage my business or my logo or it's in our name, they're immediately shutting down everything related to any communication to how a business is ran and commissions and who charges what for what. I was like, all right, right there in black and white. Zip it. Yeah. You can't even talk about it.
Yeah, as soon as this started happening, I mean, it's going to sound awful, but I was pretty excited. Because of the implications it has for a company like ours. And you know, we have legal counsel here, and I've polled everyone, and basically what they said is, look, if you guys are torn apart by this, then pretty much the entire industry is going to go away. Because since day one, we've been promoting commissions are not fair. Commissions should be more negotiable. There should be 2 different commissions. There is no reason why we should have a total commission and then a certain amount of that being offered to a buyer's agent. Why not have 2 separate commissions? Because that's truly what it is. And if you think about it, just from a consumer advocacy standpoint, let's say you list a house and you're getting 6% total, and then you agree to offer 3% to a buyer's agent. Well, what if somebody comes along and they're a dual agent situation? Well, then I get both sides. Well, what if somebody comes along and they hate realtors and they don't want to use an agent? Well, then I write on the contract, they are self-represented, and then I still keep both sides. It's not fair. And no one can argue that this is the simplest way to do things that's good for the consumer. The argument has always been, well, this is what keeps fees high and this is what's good for the industry. And that's all about to change. It's coming. I mean, to tell you guys how the people that are paying attention, I have I've had conversations with bougie luxury agents that are selling $2 million, $3 million homes in Virginia outside DC say, I want to get ahead of this. And that's why they're reaching out. You know, it's people that are starting to look at it very differently. So the purpose of this meeting is I wanted everybody to have a very sobering look of what's coming, but kind of an excited look too, because we could not ask for a bigger Christmas gift. This is amazing for us. And for companies that are truly all in on the consumer, this is amazing for us. It truly is. I could not be any more excited about it. It's crazy stuff. What you got, Jim? Can't hear you, buddy. You got to unmute.
Sorry, I just did a deal with one of the bigger, the biggest company in the Memphis area, and the discussion came up, and they said pretty much business as usual. Nothing changes until this appeal process is over. But my question is, on a listing appointment I had, which I got and sold it in 2 days, you know, the 1% is off, obviously, in our business model, but the buyer's commission obviously comes up. And the discussion was, what do you pay the buyer's agent? And, you know, my answer was, well, the customary fee is 3%, but it's completely up to you. So is that still the way to go?
Customary.
The average, which is true. I mean,
I think average is fine, but I would not say customary.
So you just say, are you saying, hey, pick a number you like?
Well, what you could say is, what I am seeing in the market is this, because you can see what's being offered to buyer's agents, and that's going to be one question that your client is going to ask you as their fiduciary. Okay, what are you seeing? What are you seeing others offer? I had one of my agents reach out to me over the weekend, asking, okay, the buyer does not want to offer a commission. And I think within our MLS, you have to enter some dollar amount or some percentage. So I told him, I said, in the listing agreement, the total commission being offered needs to be the listing commission plus $1, just so that there's something being offered within the MLS system. But that being said, any purchase agreement that comes for that property is likely going to have a buyer's agency, a buyer commission written into it, at which point we would then have to negotiate with the sellers. Okay, well, they're offering you X, but the buyer agent wants X% commission or X amount of dollars for commission. This is what your bottom line now is if you accepted this offer.
Yeah. What I always did was I would tell people, look, I'm going to show up to your house with comparables. The comparables are going to show me two things: what other homes similar to yours are priced at, so that way we can arrive at a good listing price, but also what homes similar to yours are offering to a buyer's agent for a commission. You are welcome to offer that. You're welcome to take the savings that we provide and offer even more to a buyer's agent to incentivize a buyer. You're also welcome to offer nothing. And here are the pros and cons of all those things. But I would never use the words traditional or customary or anything like that. I think Stacia hit the nail on the head with what she does. Don't use those words. As far as, you know, what they said, and look, I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but as far as what they said about, you know, we're going to let the appeals process go through. So this is when Keller Williams was thinking about going public. They're worth 1.5 to 2 billion. Okay. This is the verdict that came down, 1.8 billion times 3. Okay. So here's the thing. Once again, and this is not picking on Keller Williams. This is everyone. Redfin got named in the lawsuit. Redfin was one of the companies that got named in the lawsuit that immediately followed this one. Literally within hours of this, I'm talking about the same day on Halloween, this verdict came down, and by 3 o'clock, they had launched a brand new lawsuit and named 12 more companies, including Howard Hanna, Corcoran, EXP, Redfin. Redfin has somewhere in the neighborhood of 900 million in debt right now, and they're worth about $900 million. So, I mean, just put your finance hat on for a second. Just say, all right, I'm a bank. Am I going to restructure Redfin's debt? Who's got the money to appeal this? And
Should we change
our
our advertising? I know that we see quite often that, hey, 1% list has saved you this much over the traditional commission, which traditional is used like. Do what?
We don't say traditional. We say versus 6%.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, we got in trouble versus saying traditional early on. And so we got away.
Why are we using 6%? The number 6%.
Because 6%, unfortunately, is what the public sees as traditional.
Okay.
And the National Association of Realtors, for whatever it's worth, the local NAR board tried to clamp down on us at one point for saying 6%. And our response was, well, the real estate commission said that we could not use traditional, which I agree with. And they said, if we're going to put a savings, we have to put a number. And so we put a number versus 6%. And their response was, we don't all charge 6%. And I said, okay, great. Tell the public you don't all charge 6%. And they don't want to do that. I said, look, would you like for me to make it 7? You want to make it 8? What do you want me to make it? It's math. It's just math. And if you polled the public, unfortunately, the public believes that the standard, the traditional, is 6%, which there shouldn't be a standard. There shouldn't be a traditional, but that's what they've been brainwashed over the years. And so that's what we put. I think the main takeaway from all this is that unless something dramatic happens, there's going to be a cleaning of the freaking industry. I mean, a bunch of people are going to get their clock cleaned. It's going to be pretty dramatic and pretty bad. And the Department of Justice is going to ensure that. The Department of Justice wants to make things happen like here in this state, you have to be a member of NAR in order to have access to the MLS. They want to strip all those things out, which I think is good. You know, I think those are good things. Who else has questions? It's far too quiet in here for all the craziness that we just dropped. Chad, you had your hand up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good
morning, Chad. I'm sorry
you had your hand up. From Washington State. I wanted to kind of share with everyone recent developments here in Washington. So for all of you who aren't aware, we started pivoting over 2 years ago on all of this, taking steps to protect ourselves. And I was on a conference call with all the managing brokers in the state of Washington. We have a real estate attorney who holds trainings and does informational videos, and there was such a high demand that I feel it's probably the largest conference call I've ever been on in my life. I don't think a single designated broker or managing broker wasn't on this call. And I completely agree. This is going to change the entire landscape of our industry. However, be encouraged, you know, those of us that do good work and are clear and concise in conveying the information that we present to our clients are going to only make us better and more sought after in our industry. What I want to share with you, though, that is so surprising to me is all of our big box managing brokers in this conference call weren't so much worried about verbiage or anything like that. They were a little upset, as I want to say Kim may have mentioned earlier. No branch, no managing broker, no designated broker now may ever now have the conversation about commissions with any individual or teams. It has to be a one-on-one, private, behind closed doors. Otherwise, there's huge ramifications. That to me wasn't so surprising because I already knew that as 1099s, we all shouldn't have been discussing commissions anyway. However, here is the position that all of our big box brokers started taking, and I just laughed, and it's going to be more litigation. They are all starting to protect themselves, and the way they're going about it here in Washington State is they are all creating a company policy that states each individual broker must they're basically setting a threshold for commissions that is a company policy requirement that somehow protects them or insulates them which is only a benefit to us, because what if they say, you know, we won't accept commissions under 2.5% or under 2%? That just will make agents want to come and be a part of us anyway. Why put restrictions? I think it's going to open them up for litigation, and I thought it was funny, so I opted not to say anything. What do you all think about that?
They're putting that in writing?
Putting it in writing. Every big box broker is putting in a company policy that will require 1099 agents that they must work at a certain commission level or above.
So is that basically the let's bomb the Titanic approach?
Yeah, I think it's bonkers. I can't believe it was even open for discussion, but I can't tell you how many people jumped on and chimed in and says, okay, how are we going to do that? Let's get an attorney to draw this up and protect ourselves. I thought it was hilarious.
This is a fork in the road. Yeah, this is a fork in the road. And when people hit a fork in the road, they're either, and look, this is a recruiting opportunity. This is a franchising opportunity for us. This is a recruiting opportunity for every single one of you guys here. At the end of the day, they're going to hit this fork in the road and they're going to say, I'm either doubling down on what I'm doing, or I'm going to figure out how to pivot and future-proof my business. Okay. And for those that are taking the approach you are, Chad, that has me like, dude, I'm not an asshole, but that has me so giddy. If this is the response, like it's like Christmas in January. Sam, you had a question? What's up, buddy?
So not necessarily a question. After I was looking at the list here, I realized that, a lot of the people that are here, we've got a handful of, franchise owners. I had a call recently with one of our agents, and kind of the flip side, Chad, to what you were saying is obviously all of these traditional brokerages are doing their best to cover their own ass. And I understand it. And look, to us, we're kind of just watching kids throw a tantrum in the sandbox. And we're kind of standing on the outside going, you guys can keep going. Like, oh yeah, protect yourself. Only say, we have, customary, we can only do 2%, or there's these minimums. It's never going to work. And they're going to keep running into these things. And quite honestly, I feel like, and Grant and I have talked about this, the general public is about to get a taste of blood for traditional real estate agents and learn the truth about what's going on. So number one, first and foremost, I hope that all of us that are in this call are ready to ride this wave, because we've been talking about how different we are and how unique we are in our value proposition. But for so long, I feel like so many people thought that we felt like we were fighting an invisible fight, like we were just causing much more drama than there actually was. Now these people are starting to understand this big giant that we've been going up against. But number two, I had a call with one of our agents, and they called and just said, hey, Sam, I got a really good opportunity. I have a franchise, another big box brokerage that's reaching out to me. And I said, well, okay, what are they offering you? And it was a Keller Williams location, and they were offering a 1090 split for the first, I think it was 16 months, and a free office and a free admin and all this kind of stuff. And they were just kind of calling me to get my advice. And I just said, okay, well, let's just back up. Why are they offering you all of this? And the phone call got really quiet. And I just said, look, you really have to start thinking they're offering you this for a reason. And one of the things that I'm noticing is these brokerages now more than ever are realizing that production might start to continue to stay down. So what they're doing is trying to add more and more and more of these agents, and they're just drawing them in. Now, again, knowing what we know, we understand that that's the desperation, but just as a heads up for everybody who does have those agents underneath them, keep that in the forefront of your mind, because that's not the only call I've had like that over the past 2 weeks, where these brokers are really getting desperate, trying to bring new people in who are doing the volume that we're doing because of our model. Yep. But they literally model whenever they get there.
Girl, Brittany Madison literally just sent me a text and says she wants to talk to somebody about joining one of our offices. Well, not a text, a Facebook message. That's what you heard me typing, responding to. So look, I wrote an article that Inman ran on this. It's called The Real Race to the Bottom is About to Begin. I actually shared that on 1% List Agents, but Inman ran it. A lot of times, so I've been a contributor on Inman for a while, but a lot of times they look at what I submit and they're like, you're nuts, we can't run this. But I submitted this and they are like, look, we don't want to change a bit of it. Like, we will run this as it is. I'll put a link up to it in chat if any of y'all want to read it. But I mean, so what I think is coming is, I mean, you've got all these new brokerages coming that are offering, 100%, 100%, 100%, all these crazy low commission splits. And so Keller Williams, the big boxes, they feel the pinch from that. The Remaxes, the Keller Williams, they feel the pinch from these better splits being offered in other places. And so they're fighting with that, trying to compete on that front. But then if we go through commission compression, and then we go through a little bit more of a low volume market, how do you survive that? That's tough when you've got so much invested in all these other things. I'll put a link up in chat if anybody wants to read what I wrote, but I truly think that's what's coming. We already have seen people flock from one brokerage to EXP to LPT for better and better and better splits. And then if they go through commission compression, where they're not getting as much on the buyer side, how are these companies going to make ends meet? I don't know, because most of them are leveraged to the hilt with debt. And by the way, interest rates have skyrocketed, and it's not just for houses, it's for everything. It's for cars, it's for restructuring your company debt. It's for everything. So it's about to be wild times. Will, you had a question?
Yes, I was actually just going to piggyback on what Chad said based upon my own personal experience over the last few years. The local Sotheby's office here, they actually do have written in their ICAs, so they're in their contractor agreements that those agents will be charged based upon a 6%. So like they have to pay their splits and they have to pay their franchise fees based upon what a 6% commission. Because I've listed 2 of the Sotheby's agents, I've listed their extended family members' houses because it was cheaper. My fee at the time, I was doing a flat fee kind of program, was cheaper for their family than them doing it. And basically, they still have to pay their brokerage based upon a 6% commission because the price points of the houses were so high.
Man, that's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
I know EXP has that in theirs that they charge an additional $500 to the agent if they don't charge 6%, or that used to.
I love it.
Wow.
I think it's fantastic. What you got, Kim?
I was just going to share. I had a random call yesterday from an agent who I was friends with. I was at Keller Williams at one point, and she called and said that we were a topic of their broker meeting, which I said, oh, fantastic. I'm glad to hear you guys are chatting about us. And she said, you guys really just don't charge 1%, do you? And so I just explained, I said, hey, yeah, we reduce our commission fee down to 1%. And then we discuss the buyer commission. It's completely optional, if they want to co-op, to a buyer agent fee. And she's like, well, I just don't understand how you can do that. And she goes, we talked about you guys in our meeting the other day, and, your brokerage came up, and what about 1%? They put it right there on their logo, and how can we compete with that? And the room got totally silent. And she shared that with me because they're no longer allowed to talk about it. But even then they're searching, and so those agents that are there, she shared with me, she had a down year. She did $8 million in volume, and has 4 members on her team. So to me, that's someone who's searching, and there's uncertainty. And so she's going to be on my list to go out and have lunch with and just say, listen, check out our model. You're obviously seeing and hearing, and then you're seeing our success selling $53 million last year in our first year. And so it's interesting, that dynamic, and you're coming up more and more than you think in these meetings. But I just was surprised that she just was like, hey, you were on a contract and you brokered it, and I just thought I'd pick up the phone and see how you are. Yeah, sure. Hi, how you doing? I haven't talked to you in a year. Okay, happy New Year. So it's interesting. We're there.
Kim, we should probably do a franchisee meeting and just honestly just hold a meeting and let you take the floor. Because for those of you who don't know, Kim came out and her office did 170 transactions. 170 transactions in their first year. Yeah. And they're expecting they're probably going to eclipse 300 this year, which means in 2 years, they will be nipping at the heels of the home office, which has been operating for 7 years. So quite frankly, we should all just go work for Kim.
No,
but like Kim is
everybody's in their own pace. It's just
Kim is
we achieved all our goals and milestones, so we're excited to be part of the family.
Chad, Will Fassinger, Jim Jones. I mean, I know Trey does incredibly well. Stacia's here and she's killing it. But for those of you who are a newer office, if you might be watching this recording, that's something that we should probably do if you're open to it, Kim. It's just like, hey, tell us what your day is like. Tell us what you're doing that's working, because you guys are you're killing it.
Yeah, where are you based out of?
Northwest Arkansas.
Excellent.
So Bentonville, Rogers, Walmart home office.
So I'll get with Kim and see how her schedule looks, but that's something that we'll definitely do soon. And I mean, even just to kind of like, honestly, like we can give you guys a million programs and things, but just like a day in the life of Kim, what does that look like?
I have very good help, and I will just leave you with this: if you're afraid to take the step to find somebody to help and support you and surround you, it's probably the best business advice I could give you, because that frees up your time and that leverages growth, because they grow and then you're able to focus on other things. And you can't grow if you don't have support and a team around you that really makes it happen.
Yep. Cool. All right. So, what else you guys got? Yeah, Stacia, our local KW offices used to have meetings about 1% as well. I actually told their agents that if they can't get the listing because of us, agree to reduce. Sam, could you quantify that? Sam, for those of you who don't know, Sam was Rookie of the Year for KW. Was that 2021?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that was no, that was 2020.
Oh,
2020. Yeah, tell me.
So was there a lot of how did that go? What was the responses? Because I mean, look, I think this commission lawsuit, I mean, that we're kind of deviating away, but this is also for the franchise owners here. This is kind of a peek into the mind of how do people think about what we do and what's the best way to pivot and get that growth.
So I got two things. First, Grant, to answer your question, back whenever I was in the office, there was a lot of communication about it. Quite honestly, I didn't know that we weren't supposed to discuss commissions until I got to 1% and realized that there was, actual laws surrounding that. Because in the office at KW, I mean, look, as much as they can say no commission is set, there's 3 training classes a day to teach you how to say I'm worth 6%, and they do it. And then as far as the discount brokerage or brokerages are concerned, there was never any talk about what they did or what we didn't do. It was just they don't know their value, point blank, period. And so the second thing, Kim, to piggyback off of what you were saying about your friend reaching out to you and kind of checking in. Grant and I, we shot some content for January. This stuff should be rolling out now. I scheduled it yesterday. And one of the clips that we talked about was, how this is such a unique opportunity for everyone with our company right now. Because if you've been here, no matter how long, I'm sure that you've sat on the other end of a table with another agent who treated you poorly or who maybe looked at you indifferently or whatever else. And, the thing that Grant and I were able to communicate on this video was, instead of taking the route that all of you have taken for years now, looking down at us and saying, we don't know our value or this, that, and the other, what we're doing is sitting at this very table, not saying, haha, we're up here, you guys are down here. Our posture as a company is now looking at these agents saying, guys, y'all are about to drown. Like, we are on the edge of the river. We've got a life raft. Please drop your pride and just have a conversation. And for the people that have been in this, or for the people that are in this call right now that feel like maybe recruiting hasn't been the easiest, or, maybe they're not getting as much traction as they want, what I want to encourage you with is that you are in such a unique and pivotal position right now where everyone who has a real estate license that is working for a traditional brokerage, they are, whether they will admit it or not, they have this thing playing in the back of their head. And I'm telling you that the brokers are telling everybody, follow me blindly because Gary Keller says we're going to be okay. Well, unless, he's the second coming of Jesus Christ, like he's faking it till he makes it. And that's what he has to do. If Gary Keller came on and just said, hey guys, we're screwed. Grant said this in one of the videos. Privately, they are trying to figure out how to get off the boat, and publicly, they're still serving drinks on the Titanic.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And so everyone is being forced to pivot right now. I talked to one of our brokers earlier today that they basically have these lenders that co-market with them and basically buy buyer leads from and stuff like that. And they got notice earlier today that the cost of the buyer leads is now being jacked up through the roof, right? And so and Zillow announced with Zillow Flex where they share these buyer leads. Well, guess what? The cost of a Zillow Flex lead is now 40% referral. So why is that changing? If you pull back and think about it, well, let's say that buyers' commissions start to come down. Well, how do you keep your revenue the same? You charge more for the lead. You charge more of a referral fee. Everybody's going to be forced to pivot. This is not just going to affect the brokers. I mean, Zillow stock once again dropped 10% the day after this verdict. And the big verdicts haven't even hit yet. Okay. I mean, here's the thing. If Missouri produces a $5.4 billion verdict that just about bankrupts two of the biggest brokerages in the country, what's California going to do? What's New York going to do? What's Texas going to do? I mean, not to be mean to Missouri, but we're talking about Missouri. We're talking about $240,000 homes in a small state. You know, I mean, if you are an attorney in California, do you want that multi-billion-dollar verdict? I mean, they're suspecting that once this is all flushed out the system, that this could approach $1 trillion in penalties. If you Google it, a person that I would highly recommend you guys follow is Notorious ROV. Just Google Notorious ROV. But here's the thing. Once again, you know, start educating yourselves on it. Start following these things. Like, don't just go to some real estate coach and see what they think about it. Like, go Google it. See what Forbes has to say about it. See what the Wall Street Journal and Fortune Magazine and you know, USA Today. See what everybody else has to say about it, because they are painting a very different picture than what the typical broker or real estate coach is teaching the agent. And when you think about it, the typical broker and real estate coach, they don't have a choice. They kind of have to keep preaching the same message. What are they going to do? Say everything is not well? Of course they're going to say everything's great, but it's not. And if you open your eyes, you realize it. And so anyways, I hope you guys take a lot from this. If anybody has any questions, happy to continue answering. But and look, once again, disclaimer, the purpose of this is not to pick on KW or Remax or Berkshire Hathaway or anybody. This is just say, hey, this is the reality. I'm not telling you anything that I haven't read on tons of websites. You know, this is not my opinion on stuff. This is the reality of what's happening. What's up, Jim?
Hey, while we're on the call, this is not about the commission lawsuit, but I had a call the other day. Well, it's been a month now, I guess. And it was a question, are you the 1% list agent? Mm-hmm. And I thought it was health insurance. So I said, yeah, that's me. You know, somebody sell me health insurance. They said, I'd like for you to come list my house. Mm-hmm. So I went over there the next day, listed the house for $450,000. They didn't interview anybody else. Sold it 2 days later for a cash offer. I guess my question is, how do you get more calls with that? Is that just a Google search they did, or you think?
So here's the
way to boost that.
Mm-hmm. It's by getting reviews. It's by exactly what we went over earlier in this call. So like if I search, so we're geared for a couple of things. First of all, we automatically share with you guys any lead that comes through. Okay, so if I search discount real estate broker, okay, so here's some rather smart agents that are doing Google LSA ads. Okay, see Google screened. So this is Charlotte Johnson with Keller Williams. She has it as a search term. Anytime somebody searches discount real estate broker, she wants to be found. I highly recommend people start looking at doing Google LSA ads. Okay, like if you are a broker or an agent and want to write something down, write down this. Figure out how to run Google LSA ads, because if somebody searches discount real estate broker, guess what? She pops up. If I click call right here, it's going to cost her $40. But how many of y'all would pay $40 for a listing? Probably everybody. Okay. So if I click on more real estate agents, there's more real estate agents here. And these are all really smart and savvy real estate agents that are trying to capitalize on that. But here's Clever, blah, blah, blah. But we pop up here pretty quick. Yeah, here's 1% lists. Here's Stacia, all these people. But if somebody searches on Google Maps for discount real estate broker, okay, you have people paying for ads right here. So if they want to be cute and buy an ad for discount real estate broker, then I'll be cute and click on the link and cost them $2. But right here, we pop up number 1. Stacia pops up number 2. Ashley Callahan, who works for me, pops up number 3. Here's the W group. But this is all 1% list that pops up 1, 2, and 3 for discount real estate broker, right? How you accomplish this is get more Google reviews. Okay. Now, Kim, how you really double down on this is start doing local SEO, which Dean Cassiopo does for us. And Kim pulled me aside at the Christmas party and was like, we are killing it with local SEO. Okay. But, you know, here's people paying for ads to be at the top. But when you rank number 1 for discount real estate broker, like we get calls directly from this. Literally, somebody will call the office line. Is this 1% list? I want you to sell my house. Happens pretty regularly. Okay. So getting Google reviews is huge. Okay. Any other questions about that? Nope. Meeting with a guy named Chris Zach later today, who does a lot of KV Core optimizations, who can cost effectively target people to do a lot of automated things like automated sending of postcards, who reach out and want their home value lead, automating everything so an agent doesn't have to touch it. That's kind of our goal for where we're going with KV Core, but we are working on some pretty big things with KV Core right now with custom landing pages and action plans built around that automates everything for the agent. You do not have to touch anything. Chris Zach is here now. I didn't realize Chris was here. Finalizing some stuff with Chris Zach. We're testing that in different markets, but it'll be plans that are as little as probably $700 or $800 a month. That'll, I mean, everything from retargeting, YouTube ads, Facebook and Instagram ads, auto postcard campaigns to people with QR codes. I mean, literally, this is a swipe your credit card and forget it. You will not touch a thing, and this thing is going to run on your behalf and generate business. Yes, Karen, that's Chris Zach. He's in this here now. So working on that. We're also working on AI cold calling. So basically, we have a computer cold calling for us. Not sure how that's going to work yet, but we're tinkering with everything. So there's a bunch of fun stuff coming that we're messing with. And as we find things that the ROI is there and it works, we're obviously going to roll out programs where everybody can do it nationwide, but we are working on some fun things. But either way, I appreciate all you guys coming today. This is a very scary time for the industry, but as kind of the outsider rebels of the industry, this is an amazing time for us. Like, this is the time where we need to be having more conversations than ever, because more and more people are open-minded than they have ever been. Questions? I appreciate you guys coming today. Don't forget, if you want a shirt, like I've already had some people say, send me a shirt, this is my address. And then I've had somebody say, send me an extra large shirt, but I don't have an address. So drop me a message with your address and a shirt size, and we'll send out some shirts. I'm going to figure out a way to mass produce that here pretty quick, but that's coming. And hey, I would love it for people to participate in the Google review program. Okay, I shared a link earlier. Everybody go click on that link and give corporate a positive review. I'm about to throw it in chat right now. So everybody take one quick second, click on this, give us a positive review. We would appreciate it. But once you do that, click on the other Google link. I'm going to paste the whole thing now and say, hey, I requested a review. Okay. If you don't have a direct link to your franchise's Google business page, Google My Business, ask them for it and they will provide you one. And if you're a franchisee and you don't know how to get a direct link, then I'll provide you one. What's up, Tim? Tim, you here? You got to unmute yourself, buddy.
Yeah, I got it, Grant. Hey, how are you? Thanks for allowing me to join the call. Just a quick question. You know, you've mentioned several times why, or I should say, how it's so good for, you know, your franchisees, yourself, but why? You know, you're listing for 1%. You are cooperating with other agents at the direction of the sellers. So what is going to be the benefit to you versus to you and your franchisees, your brokers, that there isn't already a benefit now? What is going to be the difference? And also, how do you handle dual agency in general now and also moving forward?
Sure. For those of you who don't know, Tim is out of New York. Tim's was thinking about opening an office of ours, and so he's hanging out. Well, here's the thing. One court case in a flyover state just about bankrupted the biggest brokerage in the country. So that right there, it's not going to shock me if in 2 years, 9 out of 10 brokers are gone. That in and of itself helps us. Now, for the 10% of brokers that are left, and now look, I could be totally wrong on this. They could find the money to file an appeal, which I don't know how, but they could. And then once they file the appeal, somebody could say, yeah, they returned a guilty verdict and the maximum penalty in 2.5 hours, but we think that they would have arrived at a totally different conclusion if they would have heard this. That's possible. I don't think it's very likely. Because once again, to win an appeal, they're not retrying the case. They're saying there was an error made that would have totally changed the outcome. I can't get 8 people to agree on anything right now. And somehow 8 people return the maximum verdict over lunch, basically. So I don't see how most brokerages survive this, to be quite frank. For the ones that do, I don't see how they could balance their books on what we do. You know, before marketing expenses, you should be able to run a 1% list office for about $600 a month, somewhere in that range. I mean, Keller Williams pays more than that in their electricity bill. I mean, they're not geared to do this. Look, I'm not Jeff Bezos, but when you look at the impact that Amazon had on retail, how does JCPenney and Sears and Kmart and all these people pivot to compete in that low cost environment? So what you see is 7 or 8 out of 10 didn't. And so for the ones that are left, I've had agents that think about joining and they ask, well, what happens when everybody does this? Well, my answer is everyone can't. It's not in their DNA. They can't afford it. But for the ones that can, let's say that a brand new Amazon came out tomorrow. Is that going to put Amazon out of business? No, but it might finish off Target. You know, I mean, I think Amazon could afford to lose 20% of its business. I don't know if some of these that are old retailers that are left standing can. So, I mean, you belong to KW now. I mean, do you think KW could survive this environment if commissions are compressed by half and they get hit with billions of dollars in penalties? I mean, what do you think? I know you're a great producer at your office.
Well, we have a similar policy that was put in place recently regarding, you can't offer less than. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But, it's a very, very lean operating company. I haven't seen the books in a while. I have not been on the AOC in a while, but I think that contrition in the brokerage space will be good for 1% lists. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't see how people pivot to that. And I'm once again, I'm not saying we are Amazon, but that's our model. Our model is keep costs incredibly low and do a higher volume. And so, a lot of people have predicted, hey, in a low volume environment, your type of company doesn't survive. Well, yeah, if they're leveraged to the hilt in debt. We don't have any debt. And that's why Purple Bricks and some of the other ones are gone, is because as soon as the market slowed down, they couldn't afford it anymore, like Homey and Purple Bricks. That's not us. Our revenue is up as much as the market is down. Our revenue is up this year about 40%. The market's down about 40%. It's going to be interesting. And look, I don't wish ill on anybody. I've got a lot of friends who work.
Of course.
This is not a call to bash anybody, but it's more so just, hey, this is the reality. I think who should get, executive of the year is probably the executives for Remax and Anywhere who managed to avoid some of these lawsuits. But they're not gonna avoid all of them. What you got, Kim?
So 2 things. I'm not sure how I got on it, but I got on a NAR call regarding the lawsuit. And it was interesting because I was really anticipating they're going to come to the table with a whole lot of valuable information. And the president of NAR stood up and said that the lawsuit they're going to appeal, And it was basically the public has put out a lot of disinformation and misinformation. And it's our job to reflect the public how good real estate agents do. And in my head, I'm like, wait, you're just literally saying that, and they said that they did not get a chance to prove their case. The judge didn't give them an opportunity. And in my head, I'm like, it's called due process. You had an opportunity and you failed. So that tells me that I will say my opinion is I don't think they have a plan of how to get out of this other than try to change public perception and public opinion. Because when the first things out of their mouth was, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. I'm like, oh, Lord.
That's what you can. But if I had a dollar for everyone who's told me in the past, 2-3 months since the Halloween verdict, well, the problem is they just didn't explain commissions well. And I'm like, you don't think that NAR and Berkshire Hathaway and Keller Williams have the most expensive attorneys in the world? Trust me, these are people who are paid thousands of dollars an hour to explain themselves.
Right.
Trust me, they explained.
Well, this was a NAR conference call regarding that, and that's what they shared. And I walked away incredibly disappointed because I thought we were going to get some more valuable information about how to handle it. And their whole ideas are just going to have to go in, and they're starting a campaign to change public opinion. So there's that. And then Tim,
how much money are they spending for that?
From everybody I've talked to, there's not a fallback position.
No, there's not, and it's changing.
It's, well, how do we slash our costs dramatically and if commissions get compressed, or how do we keep the fee high if we lose control of all these things? And you don't. That's the thing, you don't. You just don't. Yeah.
And then I'll just leave you with this because I'm in the land of Walmart. So I was working for Walmart as a buyer when Amazon launched what Amazon launched, and it caught Walmart off guard. Walmart brick and mortar, Amazon online. Walmart had to scramble to catch up, and today they're number 2. And then Amazon tried to get into the space of brick and mortar, and they failed miserably. So knowing your lane of where you are was critical. And so today, being at the hub of Walmart, Walmart continues to push and push and push to try to compete, and they're not there where Amazon is. So to your point, Grant, when you're talking about the big and how they change and staying in their lanes and doing what they do good, industry disruption is everywhere, and it's happening all the time. I talk about it all the time. The way that you buy a car, the way that you no longer use cable and you stream. I mean, there's industry disruptions everywhere. And if you're not talking about it or thinking about it or aware of where those industry disruptions are, I have that conversation when I list with my sellers. They're like, how can you make this happen? I said, look, we're low margin, we're high volume, and we're here to change the industry. And so I think the reality of it is be aware of other things you do in your daily life about how industry disruption is happening. And this is just another one. Real estate has not had an industry disruption, and here we are. So I'll leave you with that. The world of Walmart.
Oh, look, and hey, not to tout Kim too much, but look, brokers, she is smart, she's eloquent, and she freaking gets it. And there's a reason she did 170 deals her first year, and there's a reason she's probably going to double that next year. It's because it clicks. She gets it, she understands it, she knows how to speak the lingo, she knows how to recruit agents doing it. So we need to have a meeting with Kim soon.
Well, it helps that I was a Sam's Club buyer, so low margin, high volume.
Understand it. And yeah. For those who want to hear a quick funny story, it's funny. There was an article that I wrote. This is one of the ones that Inman decided not to take up. There's an article that I wrote where everyone kept calling us the Walmart of real estate, and they say they are Saks Fifth Avenue. The only problem is Saks Fifth Avenue has been around 100 years longer than Walmart, and they're worth $5 billion, and Walmart is worth $500 billion. And ironically enough, when the Walton family became the most wealthy people in the world, was when they started selling groceries for basically nothing. Mm-hmm. It started in a town called Washington, Missouri. They opened their first Walmart supercenter where they decided to start selling groceries for basically cost. And then when they did that, they sold 1 million more razor blades and TVs and VCs and everything else. I asked an agent, I was trying to recruit an agent the other day, and I asked if they ever go to Costco. And they said, yes. I said, you ever bought a chicken there? And they're like, yeah, I love those chickens. I said, how much money do you think Costco makes on those chickens? They're like, oh, I don't know. I bet a bunch. They lose $40 to $50 million a year selling chickens. Costco loses $40 million a year or more selling chickens. You can Google that. And the reason they do it, Have you ever seen anybody walk out of Costco with only a chicken? And so at the end of the day, in real estate, the Costco chicken equivalent is listing a house. It just is. And when you start thinking like an economist and thinking like a marketer, rather than thinking like a real estate agent and thinking like an industry belonger, that's when you start being different. And when you start being different and you really embrace that and you're just like, F it all, I'm different now, what are we going to do? That's when you start just totally wrecking stuff. And so I can guarantee you that the offices are going to have a lot more conversations about Kim and her crew in Northwest Arkansas next year, just like they did with us here. It's a matter of time. So I appreciate you guys today. Tim, did you have another question? I see your hand still up. No. All right. Thank you all for coming today. I'm going to pause the recording now. Thank you all for coming and contributing. Once again, please leave us a review. We're going to start giving away $250 every month to people who get those Google reviews. I'm going to put out a post about that here in just a second. And let me know if you want some shirts. And I appreciate you guys and have a great day.
Man.
Trey, what's up?
Now I get to go to a real producers meeting with all of this top of mind.
Now you need to take me and Kelly to Secret Tie.
Ah, you're right. Okay. Done.
And John Landry too. John Landry wants to go to Secret Tie.
Yeah, right.
Bye guys. Have a great day. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.